All right, so you want to get healthier,
Mm-hmm.
right? And we're using Atomic Habits by James Clear as our guide.
Yeah.
It's all about these tiny changes adding up.
Yeah.
But it's not just about willpower, which I think is interesting.
Right.
Get ready to have your mind blown a little bit because we're going to unpack how your environment can actually make or break
Yeah.
those healthy habits.
Yeah, I think one of the most fascinating things that Core talks about is that like lasting change really comes from shifting your identity.
Oh, interesting.
It's not just about like, I want to be healthier. It's about like seeing yourself as a healthy person.
Right.
And he uses this example of someone who never misses their hair care routine.
Okay.
And it's not because they like force themselves to do it. It's because they take pride in it.
Yeah.
It's a part of who they are.
Right. And so that's super interesting.
Sure.
So applying that to like a health thing, it's like, what kind of healthy person do you want to be?
Mm-hmm.
And then even those tiny wins, like choosing the stairs instead of the elevator,
Right.
becomes like proof that you're becoming that person.
Exactly. Each small win reinforces that new identity.
Yeah.
It's that positive feedback loop.
I like that.
The question then becomes like, how do we actually turn those healthy choices into habits?
Right.
And Clear breaks down the science of habit formation with what he calls this habit loop.
Okay, let's unpack that a little bit. I remember the habit loop was a big part of the book, but like remind me how it works.
Sure. So think of it this way. Imagine you're trying to cut back on like sugary drinks.
Yeah.
You walk past a vending machine. That's your cue.
Okay.
The craving hits. You want that like sweet, fizzy drink.
Uh-huh.
You buy the soda. That's the response.
Right.
And then you get that temporary sugar rush, which is the reward.
Got it. So the
You took
cue,
the right
triggering, which
Yeah.
leads to the response, and then you get the reward, and then that reinforces the whole cycle.
Exactly.
But how do we break free from those unhealthy cravings?
Yeah.
Because our brains are like practically wired for that dopamine hit.
Right. And what's fascinating is it's not just the reward itself. It's the anticipation of the reward that really gets that dopamine flowing.
Yeah.
So Clear suggests this strategy called temptation bundling,
Okay.
where you essentially link something you need to do.
Okay.
Like, let's say going for a walk
Yeah.
with something that you want to do, like listening to your favorite podcast.
Oh, so you're like tricking your brain into craving the walk because it's
Mhm.
associated with something you enjoy.
Exactly. You're making the healthy choice the more attractive choice.
That's clever.
But let's be real, like healthy habits sometimes can feel like a chore.
Yeah, for sure.
So Clear talks about reducing friction to make good habits easier.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like if you're trying to snack healthier, keep fruit visible and put those chips out of sight.
Yeah. Oh, this reminds me of that story in the book about the hospital cleaning staff who used stickers near the hand sanitizer.
Oh, yeah.
And they saw this huge drop in infections
Yeah,
just by making that hand sanitizer more obvious and more appealing.
right.
It's amazing how these like little tweaks to the environment can have such a big impact.
Yeah. It's the power of cues, right? Our brains are constantly making these predictions based on like past experiences and what we see around us.
Yeah.
So if your environment is full of triggers for unhealthy habits,
Right.
you're more likely to give in.
So we're not just victims of our willpower. We can design our surroundings to actually like support those health goals.
Exactly.
Okay, I like that. But what about when you hit those inevitable slumps? We all have days where we're just like, ugh, I don't feel like it.
Right.
How do we get past that urge to quit, especially when things get tough?
Well, first you have to acknowledge that those setbacks are normal.
Yeah.
Clear calls this the valley of disappointment.
Okay.
It's that point where you haven't seen results yet,
Right.
and it's so easy to just give up.
Ugh, yeah.
But that's where this idea of the Goldilocks rule comes in.
Okay.
It's about finding that sweet spot
Mm-hmm.
where a habit is challenging enough to keep you engaged,
Okay.
but not so hard that you get overwhelmed.
Right. So it's like finding that just right
Yeah.
level, like Goldilocks in the porridge.
Exactly.
Okay, I like that. But how do we actually track our progress without getting like obsessed with the numbers on the scale?
Yeah. Clear suggests using like these visual measurements.
Okay.
It can be as simple as like
Okay.
moving paper clips from one jar to another
Uh-huh.
each time you complete the habit,
Got it.
or like a habit tracker.
Yeah.
You know, even just marking X's on a calendar
For sure.
helps you visualize your consistency.
So it's not about being perfect. It's about those little wins building up over time.
Exactly.
And speaking of wins, let's talk about our social circles, because Claire has this amazing story about how Vietnam War vets were able to break heroin addictions when they returned home.
Yeah.
Like, how did that happen?
The key takeaway there is that they weren't surrounded by the same triggers and social pressures anymore.
Oh, that makes sense.
Right. It highlights how much our environment, including the people around us, can really like support or hinder our habits.
So, like, surrounding yourself with people who share your health values can actually be a game changer.
Absolutely.
It's like having a built-in support system.
Exactly. And even if your current friends aren't on the same page,
Right.
you can find communities that align with your goals.
Okay.
Like a running club, a healthy cooking class, and an online group. Finding your tribe
Yeah.
makes the journey so much more fun and sustainable.
That makes a lot of sense. But let's be real. Some of these bad habits are so ingrained. Like, how do we even begin to, like, break free from those?
Well, Clear emphasizes understanding the why behind those habits.
Okay.
So, like, think about stress eating.
Right.
On the surface, the craving is for food.
Yeah.
But underneath, it might be a need to, like, cope with emotions.
Oh, so instead of just fighting the cravings, we need to figure out what need that bad habit is filling
Yeah.
and then find healthier ways to meet that need.
Precisely if it's stress eating, maybe you need to find better ways to manage stress,
Right.
like exercise, meditation, talking to someone. And to make starting easier, Clear talks about the 2-minute rule, where you essentially break down those daunting tasks into smaller, more manageable steps.
I love that rule.
Yeah.
It's like the saying, the hardest part is starting.
That's it.
Like, once you overcome that initial inertia, it's easier to keep going.
Right. So let's say your goal is like 30 minutes of exercise daily.
Okay.
Don't focus on the full 30. Just start with 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Put on your workout clothes. Do a quick warm-up. See how you feel.
Right.
Chances are, once you've started, you'll keep going.
You're probably right.
Yeah.
But what about those bad habits that are just so automatic,
Right.
How do we make them harder to do?
So Clear calls these like commitment devices,
Oh.
ways to pre-commit to good behaviors
Uh-huh.
or make bad ones harder.
Okay.
So if you're trying to cut back on screen time, put your phone in another room or use an app that blocks certain websites.
Oh, so you're removing the temptation by making it less accessible.
Exactly. You're designing your environment to make the healthy choice the easy choice.
I like that.
And it reminds me of the study Clear mentions,
Yeah.
where people who moved their TV out of their bedroom
Oh, interesting.
ended up watching way less television.
Oh, wow. So,
These little adjustments to our surroundings
Yeah.
can really make a big impact.
Absolutely. But speaking of impact, how do we make those healthy habits more satisfying
Right.
so we actually want to do them again?
Yeah, that's a good point. It can't be all about deprivation, right?
Right. Clear emphasizes immediate rewards because our brains love instant gratification.
Of course.
So even though the long-term benefits of being healthy are super appealing, it's those immediate rewards that keep us coming back for more.
So how do we reward ourselves in a healthy way? I'm guessing it can't be all cookies and ice cream.
Of course not. Rewards can be anything that you enjoy.
Okay.
Listening to music while you exercise, a relaxing bath after a healthy meal,
Yeah.
or even just simply acknowledging your progress.
Right. It's about celebrating those wins and remembering that consistency, even if it's not perfect,
Yeah.
is what leads to those big transformations.
So it's about creating that positive feedback loop where healthy habits actually become something you want to do,
Right.
not something you have to do.
Exactly.
But how do we keep that momentum going?
Yeah.
Because life gets busy. Motivation fades.
Yeah. Clear stresses the importance of tracking your progress.
Okay.
And he tells this story about the salesman who dramatically increased his sales simply by tracking his calls each day.
Wow.
So, just the act of tracking can be incredibly motivating.
It's like you're playing a game and trying to beat your own best.
Exactly.
And speaking of beating the odds, Clear talks about how our personalities can influence how we approach habits.
Yeah, he points out that while anyone can build good habits,
Uh-huh.
our individual preferences
Right.
can make certain habits easier or harder for us.
That's interesting.
Right. It's about understanding your own strengths and weaknesses when it comes to habit formation.
So it's about finding strategies that work for you, not trying to fit into some mold that doesn't suit your personality.
Exactly. Clear talks about like this explore exploit approach,
Okay.
where in the beginning you experiment with different habits to see what sticks, and then you double down on those habits that align with your personality
Right.
and help you reach your goals.
So it's finding that sweet spot where your efforts are both enjoyable and effective.
Exactly.
I like that a lot. But let's be honest, even when you find the right habits, staying motivated long-term can be tough.
Yeah.
We all have those days where we're just like, ugh, I don't feel like doing the work.
Right.
So how do we push through those moments of boredom and stay consistent over the long haul?
Well, that's where the Goldilocks rule comes back in.
Right.
Remember, it's about finding that balance between challenge and skill.
Uh-huh.
If a habit gets too easy, you get bored.
Makes sense.
Too hard, you get discouraged.
Yeah.
So it's that sweet spot that keeps you engaged.
So it's like constantly leveling up, challenging yourself just enough to stay interested.
Right.
But not so much that you burn out.
Exactly. It's about finding that flow state where you're like fully immersed in what you're doing,
Mm-hmm.
and time just seems to fly by.
Oh, I love that.
And Clear suggests adding variability to your routine to help with this. So like if you always do the same workout,
Right.
try switching up your route, listening to different music, or even inviting a friend along.
So you're keeping your brain engaged
Yeah.
by adding that novelty and variety,
Exactly.
which makes those healthy habits feel fresh and exciting,
Yeah.
not just another chore on your to-do list.
Precisely. It's about making the journey itself enjoyable,
Yeah.
not just focusing on the end goal.
I like that. But let's be real, even with the best routine and tons of motivation,
Yeah,
we all have those days where we just don't feel like it.
of course.
So how do we prevent a single slip-up from derailing our entire health journey?
Well, Clear has this really simple but powerful rule. Never miss a habit twice in a row. So if you miss a workout, don't beat yourself up about it.
Right.
Just make sure you get back on track the next day.
So it's not about being perfect. It's about being resilient
Exactly.
and bouncing back quickly after a setback.
Consistency over time is what truly matters.
Yeah.
Not those occasional slip-ups.
Right. And it's okay to ask for help, too.
Oh, absolutely. Clear talks about the power of accountability partners, and keeping us on track.
Having someone to cheer you on and hold you accountable can make a huge difference.
Yeah.
Especially on those days where you're just like, I just want to quit.
Exactly.
It's like having a personal cheerleader in your corner.
Exactly. And speaking of success, let's talk about the bigger picture here.
Okay.
Because Atomic Habits isn't just about like individual health.
Right.
It's also about the health of our communities.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
How do we apply these principles on a larger scale?
Well, Clear shares this story about how the invention of the cash register drastically reduced employee theft back in the 1800s.
Wow.
And it shows how a simple change to the environment can lead to widespread positive behavior change.
So it's not just about our individual choices.
Right.
It's about creating systems and environments
Exactly.
that actually support healthy habits for everyone.
Imagine if we designed our communities to make healthy choices easier and more accessible.
Yeah.
I mean, it could have like this ripple effect on the well-being of everyone.
All right. Well, we've covered a lot of ground today,
We have.
from identity-based habits to the habit loop to the power of environment design. Atomic Habits offers a wealth of insights for anyone looking to improve their health.
Absolutely.
But what does this all mean for our listeners who are ready to take action?
Yeah.
What are some key takeaways that they can apply to their own health journey right now?
I would say start by focusing on your identity.
Okay.
Instead of just setting these goals, ask yourself, what kind of healthy person do I want to be?
Love that.
And let that vision guide your choices.
It's about becoming that person, not just wishing you were.
Exactly.
And remember those 4 stages of the habit loop.
Right.
Cue, craving, response, reward. Think about how you can optimize each stage to make those healthy habits more automatic.
Make those healthy cues obvious and appealing.
Yes.
Reduce friction to make those choices easy.
For sure.
And reward yourself in a way that makes you want to repeat them.
Right. And don't forget about your environment.
Absolutely.
Take a look around, see what's supporting or hindering your health goals.
Right.
Can you make those healthy choices more visible and accessible?
Yeah.
Can you get rid of those tempting triggers for unhealthy behaviors?
Absolutely.
Remember, small changes lead to remarkable results over time.
That's the key.
So to wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with one final thought-provoking question.
Okay.
What one small change will you make in your environment today to make a healthy habit easier?
Love it.
Maybe it's putting a bowl of fruit on the counter, packing your gym bag the night before, or hiding that bag of chips.
Yeah.
Whatever it is,
Yeah.
take action and watch those atomic habits transform